freedom without responsibility is irreverent. And there can be no exercise of responsibility also without freedom. Because when you are not free, then you don't own up to your liabilities. Because it will mean that somebody is asking you to act. And wherever people have acted that they themselves did not bring themselves to those actions, it is very, very easy to disown those things, and you don't feel any scruples when you do that. Now, the first thing is from Mikhail Gorbachev. We remember Gorbachev, who introduced liberalism, perestroika, and glasnost, and that marked the end of the Union. And now we have so many countries out of the Soviet Union. And this is what he says. He says that while in every way protecting and guaranteeing people's rights and freedoms, we cannot divorce them from civic duties. Democracy presupposes a rational social order without which actually there can be no personal freedoms. Our legislation has a purpose of firmly protecting society from all kinds of money grubbers, scroungers, pilferers, hooligans, slanderers, and booers. Society must have at its disposal effective means of influencing antisocial elements, re-educating and returning them to a normal life. One more problem: the assertion of personal rights and freedoms and the expansion of democracy and glasnost in general must proceed hand in hand with the reinforcement of legality and the inculcation of an absolute respect for the law. Democracy is incompatible either with wantonness or with irresponsibility or with permissiveness. That is Gorbachev. Then a typical example from Britain, and this is the decision of the chairperson of the Court of Appeal in England in the spy catcher case. And he said, and the master of the rules, we call it as the chairperson, he summed up the relationship between the general and media freedom in the judgment in the case of the spy catcher in the English Court of Appeal in 1988. And this is what the judge said. A free press is an essential element in maintaining parliamentary democracy and the British way of life as we know it. But it is important to remember why the press occupies their crucial position. It is not because of any special wisdom, interest, or status enjoyed by proprietors, editors, or journalists. It is because the media are the eyes and ears of the general public. They act on behalf of the general public. Their right to know and their right to publish is neither more nor less than that of the general public for whom they are trustees. And so we must understand why we are special. We are special because we are not different from other people. We are only special when we decide legitimately to speak on behalf of others. And when you are speaking on behalf of others, you do not know what is in the mind of that other person. And that's why you should be very, very open-minded. Because this morning, when the lady prayed and said certain things, some people were exercised. Naturally, because it meant that they had chosen the wrong faith. Maybe, and they know why they have chosen the faith that they have chosen. So sometimes when you are speaking on behalf of others, your responsibility is bigger than you may assume. And that is the obligation of us as journalists. Now I take another from former Sierra Leone President Joseph Momo. And he says that we believe the media must be given every amount of freedom. If you muzzle the people for too long, it will get to a point when they will not be able to absorb it. However, the media should realize this in going about their duties. They must be responsible and they cannot be reckless. My argument has always been that the journalist's pen is as lethal as a rifle in the hands of a military marksman. And that one we all know, the maxim that the pen is mightier than the sword. And this is very, very simple. When somebody is mischievous about you, when somebody tells a lie about you, and you hear it, you may die quicker than when somebody shoots a gun at you. Because your heart will snap, and that is the end of you. And we must appreciate this. That when we tell lies about people, we are killing them. And therefore we have an obligation to give meaning to the freedom that we crave for we must respect the freedom of other persons. It is only when we give meaning to the respecting other people that they will recognize us for the right that we are seeking. Otherwise, we are charlatans, and that has no room in journalism. Now, then we also have the 1992 Constitution, which provides for freedom of expression to include freedom of the press and other media as fundamental. And it says that, and this is critical, the exercise and enjoyment of rights and freedoms is inseparable from the performance of duties and obligations. And this is what is underlined by Mahatma Gandhi when he says that the media are great power, but just as an unchained torrent submerges filth, so also an ungathered pen serves but to destroy. Now this is also important because we know that civilization developed along the littorals of the great rivers. For as long as the rivers were not in flood, they sustained human development. But the moment that the water burst out of the mainstream and entered into the littorals, there was total destruction, there was total chaos. And so if you don't control the pen, just as the Nile, just as the Volta River, if they overflow their boundaries, the consequences are very, very destructive. But for as long as they remain, they will provide us with the basis of our living. That's why we will go there. But when those rivers are in flood, we run away, and they will destroy everything. And so we must understand that the pen that we are wielding could cause mayhem. And therefore, we must be circumspect in the sense that we do. And since this program is sponsored by UNESCO, it's imperative that I take something from UNESCO. Now, UNESCO, through its publication, Many Voices, One World, Communications Today and Tomorrow, wants us to use our freedom with responsibility and to exercise circumspection in every story that we publish. And this is what it says. It says that in this unstable world in which we live in, false news may create unrest, generate or intensify social conflict, discourage or even divert investment, and destroy other countries' confidence in the country concerned. It is, of course, possible in certain cases to go to the law, but the process is often such a lengthy one that by the time the verdict is given, the harm has already been done and can no longer be repaired. False or distorted news of a sensational kind can do considerable harm to different countries and various political and social forces. And that is also true. Now, and the perfect example of this is what happened in Rwanda, that it has become a classical example of media gone awry. And that should remind us at all times that when we are doing some of those things that we do, sometimes we are thoughtless because we are not thinking beyond the moment. Like some of the jokes, like the April Fool joke that one radio station said that tomorrow we are doing recruitment. And at dawn, the place was besieged with thousands of people looking for a job. And it was only a host. Now look at that, assuming that those people, the little that they had that they will have used for that day, they used that to take transport in the hope that they were going to get jobs. And then they arrive there and they are told that, oh, it is only a joke. It can kill somebody. But the frustration. And so we should think before we do some of the things that we do. And that's why I'm saying that these admonitions that must be informed, and we must be reminded about the radio, television, liberal male colonels, and the newspaper called Kangura, that were the key elements of the genocide in Rwanda. And what they did to exacerbate the genocide. And the newspaper in particular, probably what they call the 10 Commandments of the Hutu, and which in essence considered the Tutsi as second rate, and actually instructed Hutus to mistreat and discriminate against Tutsis, including sexual abuse of women in the presence of their husbands. The Tutsis were described as thieves, quarrelsome, lazy, and this culminated in their being equated with cockroaches. In fact, that is the word that they use for the tutti. That tuttis were cockroaches. And if you kill a cockroach, you had done good. So when they were killing them, they were only eliminating, that were unwanted in that society so that there will be a better society. What more is it that in front of your eyes, somebody comes to your room and rapes your wife, and he makes you stand there and watch? How much more can anybody be demeaned, both from the point of view of the woman and from the point of view of the man? And this happened not on Mars, it happened on the continent of Africa. And people thought that they were doing it in the interest of freedom of expression. And that is why we need to be very, very cautious that we must, in everything that we do, ensure that we do not do what is not right, and therefore, right. So, all that is, but it is important for us to understand that in all these things and in everything that we do, we have to appreciate the national interest, and that there will be the need to share insights, dialogue, and open discussions influenced by mutual respect. This is imperative, and I take inspiration from Gitobu Imanyara. Gitobu Imanyara is a lawyer journalist in Kenya. He suffered more than any other individual in the regimes of Jomo Kenyatta and all that, because he always spoke against what he saw. For instance, he said that the president said that you should follow his example. Now, when the president goes to any function, he says that I am donating that, I am donating that, I am donating that. He calculated the donations that the president has made over a period, and it was more than 10 years the salary of the president. So the question that he asked was, Mr. President, where are you going to get all that money, since you are not supposed to earn any income beyond your salary? And this, in Africa, is a troubling question to ask our president. Yeah, maybe we also need to follow that and ask the people who say that they are making donations. Because I go and see a HIPIC toilet or money from the common fund with the inscription donated by the MP. And you say, but if the money was from common fund and you put up a toilet, how does it become a donation? Because the money is our money. It's only that you are telling us where to use it for any project. Yeah, but this is what Imanyara tells us, despite all his criticism of whatever was happening. He says that we must shift, where appropriate, from being essentially crusading press and adopt an educational and informative role. It is not our role to exploit unfair advantage and opportunities created by the free flow of information. We cannot afford to be destructive, for our civic and democratic institutions are so fragile and need nurturing. And that is a fact. Sometimes you ask yourself about those bodies that have been set up to oversee certain things, and you begin to question them. Yeah, but deep down there is that they don't have roots. There are some of the issues that people do not even understand. The common issue about gender. Now, if you are not very careful and you go somewhere and you want to talk about gender, people may beat you because they don't understand gender. Because the moment that you mention gender, they think it is women and men. Yeah, but gender has nothing at all to do with women and men. It's not about sex. And so when you have institutions that are very, very fragile and you are criticizing them, the level of criticism, as somebody has said, must be like rainfall. You know, when rain is falling on the flower and the rain is tumbling, the flower will collapse. But if it comes and trickles, the flower will absorb the water and it will bud and blossom. And that is the way that we need to go about doing some of the things that we need to do, so that at the end of the day, we will positively help in shaping the destiny of our nation. And that is also important and very, very critical. And we all have to appreciate the role of the media and tolerate some of the infractions. For as Alistair Sparks submits, he quotes, the only remedy I know, imperfect though it is to keep trying. to keep sensitizing the public to the importance of a free media, and to keep on sensitizing the media to the importance of its own role and the need constantly to maintain standards. It is essential to democracy and thus free development. But it is as fragile as an eggshell and can essentially be crushed. This also we need to understand. Yeah, but to the outside world and to those of us involved in the media, we must understand why we are in the media, and we must understand the privilege of being in the media. And this is provided for by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He is a professor in communications, and he says that journalism is an unappeasable passion that can be assimilated and humanized only through stark confrontation with reality. No one who does not have this in his blood can comprehend its magnetic hold, which is fueled by the unpredictability of life. No one who has not had this experience can begin to grasp the extraordinary excitement stirred by the news, the sheer elation created by the first fruits of an endeavor, and the moral devastation wreaked by failure. No one who was not born for this and is prepared to live for this and this only can cling to a profession that is so incomprehensible and consuming, where work ends after each news run with seeming finality, only to start afresh with even greater intensity the very next moment, not granting a moment of peace. I said that is the essence of our call. That's why as long as we say that we are journalists, and that's why Razak cannot say that he has retired, because you never retire from a profession. You can retire from formal employment, but journalism is not about formalism. It's about the willingness to share ideas, the willingness to advance the cause of society, and the willingness to tolerate viewpoints, particularly the viewpoints that irritate you. When you listen to what you want to hear, you are not a Democrat. A Democrat is the one who is willing to hear the things that he does not want to hear without complaining, and learning out of that to restate his or her own position and to resist the other person's viewpoints, but not to assume that anybody who differs from you is either illiterate, irresponsible, or something. Sometimes we tag people without understanding the sense that we are talking about. Because freedom is not about us. Freedom is not about me. Freedom is about everybody. And one Mazam that said that our profession allows us to tell all the stories, but we are forbidden to lie. Because the lie, the journalist's lie, is a sin, not only against man, but it's also a sin against God. Thank you very much.